Hey, everybody. Welcome to our book club. We are on habit 6 of Successful Women Think Differently. And this habit is talking about being prepared for battle, why you must expect obstacles and have a proven plan to overcome them. Oh, by the way, I'm Kylie. I don't think I introduced myself. And if I did, I don't know. I've already forgot. So I'm Kylie. Okay, so key lessons before we get into it. She has 3 key lessons here. An optimist is constantly seeking feedback and looking for ways to improve. Second one is resilience is about building an inner strength to clear the hurdles on your path. And then the third one's don't take a leap without a plan B. And she gets into specifics on all these in the chapter. And she starts out talking about this lady, Cheryl, who she brings up several times. And she talks about like different throughout the chapter, she brings her up in different ways and talks about her. But she says Cheryl's strong sense of vision has kept her focused, but it is her inner resilience that has empowered her to stay on track in the face of challenges and essentially to achieve all this success that she has. It's been the inner resilience that's brought about all of the success. So what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks. Those who are prepared for the battles, both large and small, that inevitably ensue are the ones who will experience the most success on their path. Resilience can only be tested in the face of challenges. And this is so interesting. So I just led a call a few days ago on confidence, on how to build confidence. And out of curiosity, I was asking my husband, we were driving to the beach, and I was like, what is your take on building confidence? Like, if I had to ask you what builds confidence, what is your advice or your, what would you say? One of the things, the first thing he said was doing something over and over and over again. That was like his first immediate response. But one of the things that he was saying is when you're able to take what you've learned and then go and apply it in like a real situation where there's like stressors and obstacles and all of that, that is what builds my confidence the most. And really it comes down to this resilience playing into it, because you're able to go. So like he's been going through all these courses and all of this stuff and learning. So you're taking what you learn. If you want to look at it in this business, what we learn, trainings, all the stuff, the skill set, right? But then we're applying it in real life situations where obstacles and life happens and it's not predictable in any way, shape, or form. And so it is, what do you do when this arises? How are you going to react? What are you going to overcome it? Your thoughts, all of that. So it really gets into that. I just thought it was so interesting because I was like, oh, we just talked about this. And he was basically talking about resilience, how it feeds into confidence. So yeah, the woman who never accepts a challenge never knows how resilient she is. As you build your level of resilience, you will find yourself able to handle more and do so with more grace, peace, effectiveness, basically to thrive in the face of whatever life throws your way. And so then she gives what empowers you to be resilient. She gives some things here. You have genetics. You have personal resources. Personal resources refers to your spiritual and emotional fortitude, support system, preparedness, finances, access to people, help, and opportunities. These relationships are critical for resilience. When you have a battle to fight, you don't want to be the lone soldier on the battlefield. You need others. And she goes into people and your support system a little later on in the chapter that I'm going to touch on, but how you think. So what you think predicts how you feel, what you say, and what you do. Therefore, when you intentionally think differently, you react differently. So she gives a situation here. She like paints the picture, and then she gives some scenarios of thoughts that would not be serving you, negative thoughts that are not going to help you to overcome or be resilient. And then she also gives the reverse. So I thought these were great just to kind of give one example. So a negative one would be everything I ever worked for is gone. I don't think I could ever get it back. And then on the flip side of it, you could say, this is a major blow, but it's not the end of the world. I have my health, I have determination, and even though it pains me, I can start over. A lot of times in this business, what I've heard is like, what has been built can be built again. That is something I always hold on to, that no matter what, because you're going to have people that come, that join you, and they may quit, or life happens, like maybe even outside of Plexus, but always knowing that what has been built can be built again. And so I really resonated with that mindset, and I really liked it a lot. So basically you have the power. That's the biggest takeaway. You have the power, and you have the power to change how you feel, what you say, what you do, by intentionally changing what you think. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. It is not simply that they never have doubts or negative thoughts, but when those negative thoughts show up, they banish them to their proper place. So you're weeding out counterproductive thoughts. When resilience, I loved this. I put like 2 stars beside it because I personally can like relate to this. When resilience becomes a part of who you are and how you operate, when you make it a habit, it becomes a bit easier to maintain a resilient spirit through tough seasons, whether personally or professionally. And what I mean by that is like, when I look at my journey over the years of just me being able to be resilient, I was so fragile in the beginning. I was so fragile and like scared and timid and all the things. And I would say I definitely did not have resilience built up, for sure. I really lacked confidence, and I really lacked self-assurance and all of that. And so I think over the years, being able to put this into play, like for sure, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like once you can start overcoming things, and it does feed into your confidence, and then you trust yourself, and you just have this like spirit about you that you're like, okay, I can do this. No matter what comes, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to overcome it no matter the situation. And then that's kind of, you just like, it feeds and it grows. So why must you, I'm going to skip down to here. And then, so we have about 3 minutes until I'm going to open it up. Okay. So why must you increase your resilience? You need it to live well. You need it to succeed. And you need it to keep disappointments, anger, and exhaustion from derailing your best plans. In essence, the most resilient people can sometimes appear as though they face the fewest challenges, but the truth is they are so adept at noticing potential problems and taking action to avoid them that it appears that it just comes easily for them. Again, you're like building it up. I was just thinking about like, so struggles, it's not that like I'm looking forward to struggles or obstacles, but ultimately I know you always come out stronger, and your struggle is your story. It becomes your story. And it develops a strength that you never had before. And it introduces you to parts of yourself that like you never knew. It introduces you to, I guess, areas in your life you would have never grown, or like the person you become because of it. And I remember listening to this podcast from Les Brown, and he was talking about somebody who was watching a butterfly come out of a cocoon. And so this person was observing it, and this butterfly almost died because it took everything it had, like all the strength and everything, to try to break out of this cocoon. And literally right before it looked like it was going to die, it finally came out of the cocoon, and then it had the strength, and it took off flying. It like flew away. And so the same person saw another butterfly like trying to come out of the cocoon, and instead of like watching it, he was like, oh, I'm going to go over there and break open the cocoon to help this butterfly. And so broke it open. But instead of the butterfly like being able to take off and fly, it actually fell to its death because it did not have the strength built up to like take off and fly. And so all that strength that literally almost killed this other butterfly, it was the strength that it needed to be able to take off and fly. And then this one had none of that. It didn't have the stamina to like take off and fly or whatever, and it fell to its death. So I always remember that when it comes to like struggles and stuff like that. And where I'm going to end is, before I open it up, is your support system strong? We must expect obstacles. We shouldn't be tripped up by them, but we must have the flexibility, optimism, and resolve to conquer the obstacles as they come, to anticipate, prepare for, and perhaps avoid them. Choose to have people around you who support your efforts and can give you wise counsel. That is so important. Why your inner circle is so important, because you don't want to have somebody who's going to be negative or not giving you wise advice, or even somebody who's going to agree. Like sometimes you need somebody who's just going to say the hard thing to help you rather than you just like stay where you're at. So your inner circle is so important. And then at the bottom, if y'all are following along, sorry, I haven't been given page numbers, but 143, the habit of nurturing relationships and teaching out fosters resilience for a few reasons. We are strengthened by connection. We are built for relationship with others. It is in the context of relationships that we create joyful experiences, serve, and find meaning in our achievements. Making a difference, after all, is about being a blessing to others in the same way. And then in isolation, she says this: isolation is an ingredient for self-absorption, depression, and emptiness. It is in times of challenge, especially, that our relationships bolster our ability to overcome. So just the importance of having people, we get great advice, we gain perspective, we get help, we get encouragement, and we get support, which is vital to our success. So I'm going to open it up now to takeaways. I have 2 questions here. So the first one is, describe a time in your business where you had to overcome a difficult obstacle and be resilient to reach your goal, which ultimately made you a stronger, better version of yourself. Just, if something comes to mind, something in your business that you've had to overcome, or a big obstacle that you want to share.
I think we can all relate to, when it comes to like reaching out to people, I think we can all relate to having to overcome like some adversity there, because some people don't really have nice things to say, and they can be mean and nasty, and we just have to like remember our why. Like why we're doing this, what our goals are, and why we want to achieve these things, because I think it's easy, if we get like a hateful message for that to like knock us down and kind of, make us sad or put us in a bad mood or whatever. But it's so important that we keep pushing forward and moving on, because their opinions of us, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is why we're doing this and why we're here. And it's just important to keep on keeping on, guys.
That's so good. I get nervous to respond right after, because I'm like, I don't know if somebody else is trying to chime in, but like I was talking to Megan earlier, and I got a message today that I was like, what the heck? But it's fine. And I'm to the point where it's okay. Like sometimes people don't have the nicest thing to say, but your vision keeps you going. And there's like a Bible verse that's like, without vision, you perish, not verbatim, but you know what I mean? It's like a vision, and why you're doing this is so important for your resilience and being able to overcome, for sure.
I think she talked about the 3 skills or the 3 things you need to have, or what empowers you to be resilient. And she talked about your circle of friends and then how you think. It's so important to have that circle of friends so you don't feel like you're alone. To see other people who've gone before you. We have that built in with the Plexus community, and then your mindset. So one of my, wasn't really a setback, but the hardest time in my business was the first 2 years, and I wasn't having much success. But instead of being like, I suck at this, like I love her examples on page 134, I suck at this, or I'll never get to the top, or I'll never be a diamond. I didn't say that. I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. And I would look at other people who were doing the things that I wanted. And I am all about mindset, because it can get you out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. It gets you to the gym when you don't want to go to the gym. It's just you and your thoughts, because it's all a choice and nobody can make the choice for you to grow your business. So I love that she talked about that.
I'll pop in. So something that always held me back growing up in school, wherever I was speaking, like publicly. Public speaking was like a nightmare to me. I absolutely hated attention on me. I hated having to stand up, especially stand up in front of like a group of people. And then I came into this business and I'm like, how am I going to do these calls? How am I going to speak and lead a bunch of people if I can't get it together? I was like the girl in the classroom that would, like, if they were going around the room, I'd count how many were in front of me and I'd get like all sweaty. And I'm like, oh my God, they're coming. It's almost my turn. And it would freak me out. I even took like a 00 on my final exam in college because I would not get up in front of the classroom. And then I remember Tova's like, well, you're going to do this. We'll do it together. And I'm like, okay. And the first Pink Power call, I was like, I'm gonna vomit. Like, I was like pale and I had to talk for 3 minutes. It was absolutely horrific, but I got through it. And I did it. But public speaking was always something that held me back in life. I pray to God that I never have to speak at convention or anything like that, but baby steps, one day at a time.
I think that this speaks to kind of like the circle part of this chapter, but I think the most difficult thing for me and my business was losing people that I had developed relationships with. And something that helped me through that was that's an old saying that goes like, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And the thing is, we don't get to choose what buckets these people fit in all of the time, right? But choosing to focus on the positives, the blessings that came from having them for, whatever the reason was, the season, etc.
That's good. I've never thought about that we don't get to choose what bucket they're in. That's so true. I'm like thinking about that now.
So for me, a really hard time with just being resilient was when I moved, remodeled, had a baby, had my husband decide not to be in the army, medical school, all that was really, really hard for me because I was actually I was not happy. I hated my life, honestly. And so I knew though that I wasn't in a place in my business where I could just give into those feelings and give into that depression or whatever you want to call it. I had to show up. I had to do the things because I knew that I had to. I just didn't have a choice. So for me, I had to remember, I really liked on page 139, she said, am I making decisions and plans that will best prepare me for the vision I want to move towards? And I just had to remind myself of that because it's a lot. Life is crazy. And I just love this because I mean, who can have a perfect life where things don't go wrong and things don't happen? So I feel like it's so good to be prepared and have this info. I love it. I wish I'd have had this book a couple of years ago.
Okay, so I want to talk about rebuilding seasons. I feel like we don't talk about rebuilding seasons a lot, but I saw this Eric Worre video not that long ago, like a clip just randomly, and he was talking about how rebuilding is very much a part of our industry. And it's not something that we talk about a lot, but it is hard to get to a place and then go back. or lose rank or lose people and have to rebuild back up to where you were. And there's a lot of people who are not willing to rebuild, not realizing that rebuilding is actually very much a part of this industry. Like, it's unavoidable. You will have to rebuild. You're going to rebuild, period. And so it's hard. And some people get entitled to where they got, thinking, I already did that once, I should never have to do that again. That is a that, like, the people who think that way never get to the very top, because the way to the top is up and then back down and then up and then back down, and that's just how it is. And you find your most solid people along the way, and the weak branches get pruned off. Maybe it wasn't for them, and nothing bad about them, but you find your solid, stable pillars. And so that it still is really challenging mentally, but I think that if you can get that in you, because it's never starting over, you're always coming back with experience. And so the comeback is always greater than the setback. So I'm done.
That's so true about rebuilding, because I'm in rebuilding in my journey, and it's mentally, it's tasking, because I was up and down and then up. And so it's been I've learned a lot and grown a lot, but like mentally, sometimes I'm like, oh, you get into that thing and you just think, oh, I was here, but that little thing and little tiny thing in your, that little voice that says, no, but you got it before, so why can't you now? And so I'm really just telling myself I can, instead of I can't, because I can.
Yep. I think that is good to talk about, because it is true. When I look back, like, the same exact team that got me to gold is not the same team that got me to senior gold or ruby or senior ruby. And I think that's okay, because you're right. Like, the people that are meant to be here, they stay and they stick. And then that's when you find your solid people. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want the people who want to be here. Okay, so I'm going to say the second question, but you can answer the first one too if you have a time or something you want to answer. The other one's basically just on your support system, where she says, is your support system strong? So just giving your biggest takeaways on relationships and how it plays into your business, especially as we encounter obstacles. And just out of curiosity, have you always viewed relationships as an important part of your success? Like, have you always looked at relationships as being like, wow, that's really important to my personal success? I guess is my question there.
I like this question. I think for someone who's not super relational, I do really value my support group. And I had to be very careful early on with who I let into that group. Not that you shouldn't ever listen to anybody else or take feedback, but your inner circle who are helping you with your thoughts. And they have to be people that believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, and people who call out your strengths. I got to meet Kristen's mom one day, but we were talking about Kristen's mom, and I think that's just one of her natural talents, to just be your amp person and make you feel amazing and all the things you're good at. And we probably don't do it enough for each other, and that's a pretty easy free gift to give someone. And I don't think you can ever tell someone often enough their strengths and show them. Sabrina, all the time, I'm showing her when she's worried about something, like, you've already accomplished this in other areas. So, like, someone to talk to you about, you've actually already done what you're worried about, and these are why you have the characteristics that it's going to be fine. And here are other people who've gone through that. Having a spouse that's a big cheerleader to you is priceless. So if your spouse isn't super on board, putting forth effort and education to get their buy-in is worth it for the amount of support that I've gotten from my upline, my downline, my husband. Everybody's great.
My husband has always been extremely supportive of me, but I have had to teach him how to be um, supportive, because sometimes he'll think like if I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna use an example, the kids, like I'm complaining about how the kids are behaving or they're not doing their chores, et cetera, et cetera. Like I've had to explain to him, like, in those moments, I just need you to hear me, and I just need you to tell me like I'm doing a good job, like, I'm a good mom or whatever it is, instead of being like, yeah, those rotten kids are just so bad, whatever. Because he does that. He'll like get in the mud with me and roll around. And that's not what we need, right? So making sure that those people who are close to you are supporting you and know the way that they need to be supporting you, and that happens with communication for sure.
I agree with that a lot because I've had people in my circle years ago that aren't anymore because being around them is depressing because they kind of feed into like when I'm having a bad day. So I think having people that are in your circle that are going to give you the hard truths, and sometimes you're not going to like what they say. And I've had to like bite my tongue when I don't like what my best friend tells me, but it's usually for my best interests. Like they're doing it because they love me, not because they want to upset me. And so I have to go in with it with like that mindset is like, they're not trying to make me angry. They know I can be a better person. And sometimes I have to take that from my boyfriend. Like I've said things that aren't nice and he's like, don't say that about your mom. And like, I don't like that, but like he's trying to make me a better person.
Natalie says, if your friends don't correct you, you got to get realer friends. And I will say that my support system here has definitely like kept me going, because I literally feel, I mean, it was kind of, and I don't even know what we were talking about, but I remember telling Natalie something. They were like, I'll find somebody for you, and I'm like, dang, okay, they got my back. Like, I don't care where we're at. They got my back. So I think that I feel comfortable, my inner circle, I can say something and know that they're going to say something to me, whether I want to hear it or not. And I know too that they have my best interest at heart. So if they say something, it's not in a cruel way. It's like, oh, they want me to be the best version of me possible. Anybody else have anything? Okay, so we will have, I'm dying at the comments, habit 7 for next week, and great discussion. I really enjoyed tonight. So see you guys next week.